Okay, so we have JD Beck and La Casa. Welcome to Live Life by Design. And you came from Oregon.
Flew in this morning, just for this
morning for the show.
Yes,
Are you flying home? Are you staying a few days here in Utah?
No, I'm here for 2 hours. Then I'm to Des Moines this afternoon, Minneapolis, back home.
Awesome.
So,
well, thanks for being here.
Absolutely.
Always a pleasure being with you. So what year did you and I meet?
Man, it probably would have been, I was in grad school, so 2012?
2012.
2011, 2012, right there, yeah.
And it was our first meeting at Ruth's Chris? Is that where we first met? Or did we meet before and we just...
Oh, man.
I can't remember.
I don't know if it was Ruth's Chris, at Vivint, at your house. I mean...
One of those.
I remember one at Vivint specifically. That was the close. I remember the close.
The close was at
the close was at the building. But, yeah.
That's
exactly
cool.
Where we met.
And then, so grad school, what were you studying? And where were you in that grad school journey when we met?
Yeah, so I was actually graduating in May, right? Late April, May, whatever it was. And we met kind of that winter, so let's call it January-ish. So I was about to graduate, getting my master's degree in psychology. So that was the plan. And then things deviated a little bit. That's what we'll say.
And it was Dusty Wynn.
Yeah.
That brought you to the fold, right?
It was, yeah. I'd known Dusty for a long time. We had actually met in college originally. I was playing football down at SUU, and that's where we met. And then just took a long time, a few years. I mean, I probably was, 25, 26 when we connected. So I was older than most when I got in the game.
Did you have kids at the time or just married?
Yeah, I had one and a second on the way.
Okay, and then how old's your oldest now?
13.
13. Seventh, eighth grade? Seventh grade. Going into eighth. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, my youngest is 12. Brad, who we just did the show with, his oldest is also 12. So you're
and my mom taught him, right? I don't know which ones. I know she taught some of yours.
Yeah, your mom, I think, taught pretty much all of my kids.
Very cool.
In elementary school.
Yeah.
Favorite teacher for all of them. So I guess what caused you to say, you know what, I'm about to graduate. I'm assuming you wanted to be a psychologist, right? Or
yeah. So
what was the trajectory there?
Yeah. So I had prepped everything to. I was actually going to either psychologist, psychiatrist, right? So med school route or psychologist route. They're slightly different, which one you want. So I had done all the work to prepare for that. We had to publish stuff that had to be the quality, or we had to, our exams and everything had to be at that level where you could obviously get into med school, and then we had to publish and everything. And so I was on that track. For whatever reason, I decided to go on a blitz to Kearney, Nebraska, that over spring break. And so not part of the plan at all. The plan was to graduate. I was going to practice, work for like a year to 2 years, and then move on to whether psychologist, psychiatrist. But man, I went and did a blitz. And I remember calling my wife sitting on a corner at 6 p.m. in a snowstorm. And I'm like, what the hell am I doing? And she's like, I don't know. You're there to go sell something. I ended up getting one. I sold, it was either 7 or 8 that first week. Started looking at that and said, wait a minute. If that's the worst I'm going to be, what could it look like in the future? And, man, everything changed literally from that week-long trip.
Who all was on that trip? I'm assuming Dusty was on the trip.
Yeah, Dust. I mean, as far as like just other guys that, oh man, probably McRae, Nick was probably on that.
Nick Wood,
McRae. Yeah, I don't know exactly, but some of those guys,
McRae,
I would assume.
Nick, Dusty.
Yeah.
The crew.
Yeah.
And they're all
Curtis Peterson.
And they're all doing big things. Curtis Peterson, I heard he owns the town of Delta.
Yeah, that is.
I think that's where he is. Like, I was talking to somebody like Curtis owns this whole town now.
Yeah, I think he's doing insurance or something.
Everybody's doing awesome. Mm-hmm. So was that trip the aha moment trip, or was it post that trip where it was the aha and says I'm doing this?
Yeah, I would say that trip definitely gave me insight into what it could be. I wouldn't say the aha necessarily happened on the trip, but when I got home, it was like started doing math a little bit, right? And I knew as a therapist, you graduate with the master's degree, and you're gonna go make 50 to 70 grand, give or take. And I started adding it up, like really thinking about, man, like you kind of get myopic a little bit in grad school, like this is my career, it's what I'm doing. And then you realize, wait a minute, like that might not be enough. But in my mind, I was always like, well, I'm going to start my own sober living. That's what I wanted to do. I consulted
and that's your pops, right? That's the
yeah. He ran
industry.
Cirque Lodge.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that was a primary care, right? First 30, 60, 90 days. What I wanted to do was focus on after they leave. So that sober living, where now you're kind of getting back into the mix of society a little bit. You've been to treatment for 60 to 90 days. And so I consulted on a ranch to basically, it was a sober living ranch. It was in Holden, Utah, right by Delta, ironically. And I ended up running that for a while, but man, there's not even a stoplight there. I mean, the closest gas station is 20 miles. I loved it, but for the family, it just wasn't the right move. And ultimately, just looking at it, I needed to do something that could generate a better income at the end of the day. And I'd never sold anything in my life prior to getting into this. So.
Okay, so you did that. Thanks for sharing that. That's awesome. And you were in Nebraska. You were how old?
26.
26. Okay. I started when I was 31. Yeah. So, still a few years there of difference. But what was going on? You had one kid at the time, you said?
One kid, yeah.
One kid at the time. You're married for how long now?
2 3 years.
2 or 3 years. Like, talk to me about what was going on in your mind. Because you're like, I'm going to get published.
Yeah.
I have a master's degree.
Yep.
Like, I'm going to follow, somewhat in my dad's footsteps here.
Yeah.
I know what the path looks like.
Yeah.
I can go run this thing. How in the world did you get your brain to say, pivot, let's get into this direct-to-home thing, which was, for a lot of people is viewed as kind of a starter job
100%.
Until they really start seeing what's really behind the curtain.
Yeah.
But how did JD, come to terms with this thing?
It's a good question.
And the reason I ask is for the listeners and the viewers, a lot of them are probably contemplating some sort of switch.
Yeah.
Like, why would they want to even entertain getting into this arena, even if they're currently 40 years old, 50 years old, et cetera?
Yeah, I think, I had a career path in my mind that was it just kind of wasn't negotiable. Like, that's what I was going to do. And ultimately, as I started to realize, hey, I'm graduating, it's time to start making money, it's time to get into the mix, I just realized I was probably going to get burned out because I'd been in the industry for 5 or 6 years at that point already. And I got really concerned about the income level. I legitimately was like, how am I going to make it at 65 or 70 grand on the higher end? And then I realized, man, my entire life is going to be sitting in a scenario like this, talking to people. And that's cool. And I liked it. But I really thought, could I do this for 25 or 30 years? And so I missed the team aspect a little bit too in my life, just the competitiveness that door-to-door brings. It was fun to go on a blitz and feel that hype a little bit and feel the pressure and compete. And so I liked that. But man, to your point, I had a really hard time thinking I'm going to take my family across the country. I sold in Arkansas my first summer to go knock doors when I have a master's degree and an honorable career. That was actually a really hard pill for me to swallow. And I remember somebody knocking. It was pretty quick in. Like, dude, go get a real job.
Yeah.
Get a real job. And I was sitting there hey, I have a master's. I'm licensed. I have a real job. That makes no money. And so it was a tough pill to swallow. But once I did and I realized there was no ceiling, that's what became really exciting for me. Is I don't care about a floor. I care about the ceiling. And that was a big deal. And so at that point I realized, okay, I can, and Taggart has his book, Eat What You Kill or something, but that concept of it's up to me every day, which provides an immense amount of stress at times, but I would rather rely on myself than somebody else.
Yeah, I love that. If you don't mind sharing, what was your earnings year one?
So year one, I didn't do much. That was the only preseason I did because I graduated and had to come out a little bit later. And I cleared, I want to say, just over 90K that first
So more
summer.
than you would have.
Yeah, more than I would have the whole year, 100% as a therapist.
And hold on. So how many months of true work did it take to make that 90?
3.5.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
That's crazy. Yeah, so I can see the justification there. And then was year two your first full year?
Yeah, so year two was my first full year. Co-managed with Dusty on that team, and then we were in Illinois. So
that was 2013?
I want to say 14.
2014?
14, yeah.
And then if you don't mind sharing, what was earnings that year?
So that year I give or take, probably 165-ish, 170 ballpark.
Yeah, great income.
Yeah.
I'm sure a lot of listeners like, wait, what is going on here?
Yeah.
That's awesome. And then, so how many years, that was at Vivint. So how
Yep.
many years did you do Vivint?
So Vivint would have been 15, 6, so basically 4 years.
4 years at Vivint.
Yep, 4 years at Vivint.
What happens after year 4? Where's JD?
So after Vivint, I kind of got back into the therapy thing a little bit and had the opportunity.
Was it just calling you or
Yeah.
why?
I just didn't want to travel anymore in the summers. Kids were getting
Got it.
older, and I just was like, man, I had a good run. It was awesome. Like, I loved it, and it's just time to do something else. And so I went back into that world for a short time and was like, I can't do this. I can't go from no ceiling to fixed, and this is it. I lasted like 2.5 months, 3 months, and then it was a little...
All right, so let's unpack that one. So year 4, I'm assuming, was your highest year of earnings?
Year 3 actually was my best year.
So what was that year, earnings-wise?
300-ish.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
And then you go back into the arena of psychology,
Yep.
psychiatrics.
Psychology's great.
Psychology.
Yeah.
We'll call it psychology. So in that world of psychology, is psychiatrics, is that a word?
Psychiatry. I mean, that would be, yeah.
Maybe I'm using my Spanglish there.
Yeah.
Okay, so what would have been, if you had done that for a full year, what would the earnings have been?
The therapy side?
The therapy
Psychology
side.
65 to 70K.
Jeez Louise, yeah.
Yeah.
It's hard.
Yeah,
It's hard, bro.
But in my mind, I'm like, hey, it'll be cool. I don't have to stress. I know I get a guaranteed paycheck.
Oh, you're going to stress.
Yeah, well, exactly. That's why I lasted 2 months. I'm like,
Yeah.
this is stupid.
Yeah.
I got my first check. I was like, nah.
Yeah, I can't do this.
I
Yeah,
can't do
no
this.
doubt. No doubt.
I'm out.
Okay, so you complete those 4 years. You get back into psychology.
Yep.
Where are we now?
So I do that, and then I'm a little bit of identity crisis, right? As far as like, man, I got the degree. I don't know that I want to do it. Do I want to start something fresh, right, and build a business with the degree? Because that was originally the plan.
Sure.
And I just was kind of at a crossroads and ended up getting introed at that time with a buddy that was doing mortgages, doing VA refinances.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, man, the owner's super cool. You can hunt the whole time. I'm a huge outdoor guy, big hunter. That's primarily the reason I did Vivint originally, was to hunt so I could have the falls off. That was a huge driver. So I went to mortgages, and it was a fantastic income. Like, it was good, and we were making a lot of money. And I ran that for about a year, actually, doing that. And then it was beyond repetitive, though. Every guy in the office kind of hated his job, and you just literally sit down, you would take calls. We told them over the phone. I had 2 assistants. You just grinding. And very quickly, I was fortunate enough to kind of rise to the top of that office, and I was making $25,000 to $35,000 a month on average, like right out of the gate. So it was solid. But a year in, I was like,
monotonous.
My wife looked at me and she's like, so is this like your career? This is what you're going to do? And I was like, no, but it's good for now. But no,
Yeah.
I got to figure out what's next.
Okay, so now what's next?
So now we're doing the mortgage thing. And at that time, I was kind of getting hit up by quite a few guys in the solar space. I had the opportunity. I flew out
Who was hitting you up the most?
Doug Robinson, Legacy, like those guys. I chatted with those guys quite a bit. Dusty was with Legacy at that point, so he'd left Vivint and moved over there. So, man, I flew out to Boston to look at taking over that market with those guys, which actually, looking at hindsight, would have been a really good move with some things that happened. But just Boston was not my vibe. Super cool city, just wasn't for me.
Did you ever do Boston?
No, I went out there, spent a week.
And you're like, I'm not, this ain't
loved
for
it.
me.
I'm West, man. I'm
Yeah.
a West Coast guy. So didn't do it. Went out and visited Colorado. I just wasn't the right timing. Just didn't do it. And then got connected with some other guys in the solar industry, Ryan Roach, Jared Bissinger, Encore Solar, and ended up there and opened up Denver for those guys.
You know, Jared Bissinger was with us, I think, in El Paso. Or,
Yeah.
I know he was connected with the group.
Yeah.
So shout out.
Good dudes, man. Good dudes.
Okay, so you did, where were you?
Denver.
Denver.
So I opened up their Denver office.
Okay. But you had already checked out Denver with Legacy.
I had like 6-7 months before.
And it just
I don't know, just timing, just whatever, just wasn't right at that moment. But I was like, man, Denver's a cool spot. Like I could see myself here.
So you're with Encore.
I started with Encore, yep.
How long were you in Denver with Encore?
So I went to Denver in the fall and we got rolling. We were doing good. Like the office was crushing. Everything, like it built it from nothing. We'd meet in a Regis, rent a room, and start building it out. And around December, January, Dusty and I connected again, and we started talking like, hey, we're both doing our thing here. And he was in Phoenix, Arizona at the time, but is there a scenario that we should start something? Like, what should we do? And we started like a lot faster than I would have anticipated. We started discussing, opening up an install company only because everybody needed installers. There were sales companies everywhere. And ultimately, around February, we're like, let's do this. So it was quick. From the time I got into solar to like, let's start our own thing. And I remember driving down to a Chase Bank, and I opened up the LLC and opened up the Pure Light Power bank account in Parker, Colorado.
Who came up with the name?
Oh, man, we bounced around. It was kind of a joint thing. We were just bouncing ideas. I don't know, maybe he remembers. I don't remember specifically, but
that's a cool name.
Yeah,
I like it.
I mean, it's been good.
And I like the logo, by the way. Looks cool.
Yeah.
I give props to Damon for that. I know that's not you. I know that's Damon Price.
Hey, you know what? I'll give credit's due. That's all Damon.
Okay, so that's crazy. I didn't realize that. So how long, literally how long were you doing Encore before you said, let's do Pure Light? Was it 6 months?
Yeah, like 6-7 months.
And the whole strategy was, let's be a construction company.
Originally.
There's tons of sales orgs. There's not a lot of construction companies that are doing it the way that we know we can go do it.
Yeah.
Now where are we? Like, what's day one look like?
Yeah, so we decided to be construction, but then we pivoted. Pretty quickly we decided, you know what? Let's own the whole thing.
Yeah.
And so...
But you start with the core. You start with construction. You said, we can do our own sales. So we run the installs and the sales. And then you found a finance partner to hold the paper.
Yep.
Okay. And is this all happening in Oregon?
Yeah. So we did a bunch of market research. We narrowed it down to Amarillo, Texas, Billings, Montana.
Amarillo, Texas.
And Medford. And a lot of it just had to do with, we loved Billings, but there was a rate case. There was some issues going on with net metering we were concerned about. Didn't make sense to open, too risky. Amarillo was just all private land and flat, and I want to be in the mountains. So that's kind of what scratched that. And then Medford just checked all the boxes. We'd never even been there, truthfully. But a good utility company, low competition, it made sense for us to launch there. So I flew out and hired our first guy to be an installer. He had a lot of experience, and we got a little teeny warehouse, a single bay warehouse with, a 300 square foot office. The joke is that...
Remind everybody, what year is this?
This is 2019.
Okay.
Yeah. And...
Perfect time to start a company,
yeah,
by the way.
Yeah. We built the company out of the Tiki Lodge Motel and room 201. No joke. It was $55 a night. It was the cheapest we could get. So room 201, the Tiki Lodge. And we're doing a little retreat in a couple weeks, and I'm having all the guys stay at the Tiki intentionally. Nothing nice. Like, this is where it began. And then after the Tiki Lodge for a couple months to save money, we moved into a guy's tough shed in his backyard. And there was a little AC unit. There was a little wood stand with a mattress and a mattress on the floor full of ants. And we lived in that tough shed for 6 months. So I would be there for a week to 10 days. I'd leave. Dusty would come in. And if we were doing 2-touch sales, I'd tee it up and give him all the notes and he'd close it, vice versa. So we were doing everything, living in the tough shed after the Tiki, that little single bay. I'll never forget, I know you interviewed Paul Olson, and we pay payroll. And payroll was like, because we didn't pay ourselves for almost a year. And payroll was supposed to be like $8,000. And I remember like $10,000, $11,000 coming out of the account. And I called Paul so mad they took too much money. And he's like, dude, you have payroll taxes, Medicare. I'm like, what? Like, there's no way you're taking $2,000 extra dollars. Like, that's how we ran it. But the whole thing was like, we had both had great earning years before, but you don't know how much it's going to cost. You don't know how long you'll go without money. And so we were prepared to go as long as it took. And I'll never forget, we had basically start Pure Light's checking account, and it's deposits from our two accounts are what funds it, right? So you get no deals to start. So all your material, your warehouses, everything is up front. There's nothing that helps you start a business. I'm sure there's maybe SBA loans, but we just wanted to self-fund it. We bootstrapped it, right? And I told my parents, I said, either we're hitting a grand slam or I'm literally going to move into your basement. You're going to have to Venmo me for gas in the U-Haul to come home. And then I knew I'd just go sell for a summer, make money, and then I'd figure out what's next. But that was our mentality. And we were at lunch, Dusty and I chatting, and I remember I'm like, hey, are you broke? And he's like, yeah, kind of. Are you? And I was like, dude, I only have like $1,600 left in my bank account. We were renting a house in Medford. I don't have enough money to pay rent and get groceries. And this had purely been going for a year. And it was kind of like, do you think we can pay ourselves? And it felt weird. Like it was almost like we were stealing. And this weird concept, like, no, you can't take money from the company. And we decided to pay ourselves. And our first checks were $2,500 each. And we each signed. The rule was if I wrote a check, he signed it. If it was to me and vice versa, right? Just our own little checks and balances. And I still have that check, $2,500. And that's the first dollar I took from Pure Light.
A year after inception. Yeah. That's cool. What a beautiful story.
And that was like, yeah, the Tiki Lodge to the shed to that. Like that's what makes it cool, you know?
That's awesome.
It's super cool.
And then, I mean, there's so much that we can unpack here, and there's so many cool things that we can talk about.
Yeah.
But just so the viewers and listeners can understand, you know, you get your first $2,500 check a year. This is a year of working.
Yeah.
Like that's your first. The rest of the time, it's like you fueling the business, you paying the business to exist. So you had an exit not too long ago, and I know we can't talk exact numbers due to privacy reasons, but maybe give us a ballpark indication of what that exit looked like for you and Dusty, your partner.
Yeah. I mean, it's crazy actually when you look back. Like in my opinion, you build a company to have a transaction, to have an exit, whether it does or not, who knows? But if you do everything you can to build it that way, I think some good things will happen, right? And so let me give a little preface to that story. Is we'd been in business 6 months, and we got an offer for $12 million.
Wait, within that first year, 6 months in, you get an offer of $12 million.
Yeah.
What was your reaction when you got that offer?
Why are they offering us this? I was like, what are they thinking?
And you don't have to name names, but was it private equity? Was it a strategic partner?
Strategic.
So another company in the space. Okay.
And they're like, hey, we see what you guys are doing. We like the location you're in, like $12 million. And I was like, dude, we're not even making money. I'm going down, and they're willing. I was like, we should just sell right now. Like, what are we thinking? But then I was like, no, if that's the case, what am I not seeing?
Yeah.
Right? What am I not understanding here? And there's a really cool text that went along with that. So that happened, and I was sitting up one night. It was a Friday night. I'm staring at my ceiling, and I'm like, why are they offering us this? Like, what am I not seeing? And then I thought about it, and I'm like, we're on to something, but we're not thinking big enough. And so I text at that point our partners. There was Damon and Cam and Dusty. And all I wrote, so it would have been about like Saturday morning at
Damon 12, was already with you at this time?
Yeah, 12:31 in the morning. And all I wrote is, we need to expand. Nothing else. We need to expand. And that was kind of the genesis of like, let's not just be a local Medford. Like, let's blow this thing up. We got to go way bigger. We're thinking too small. And literally within weeks, we opened our next office in Bend, Oregon. And then from there, it was like, okay, then we moved into Iowa. And we were going intentionally to these markets that nobody was in. That's what allowed us to build the way we did. And we had really good margins. We had really tight ops. Costs were very low. Like, we just ran it efficiently. I mean, you're a systems guy. That's all you ever preached. And our systems were good. Our costs were good. Like, we just ran it tight. And that's what allowed us to get into that transaction, you know. And all of a sudden, it's like, wait a minute, we're worth $60 million, $80 million, $100 million, $120 million, right? And it just went up, up, up. And we were able to get the deal that we wanted. Our mindset going into the transaction was to take it or leave it. We don't care if we don't transact. So it was
very powerful.
This is our price. And if it doesn't work, and it wasn't a pullback, it was just a bluff. It was like,
it is what it is.
It is what it is. Because if we're worth this already, what does years 5, 6, 7 look like? We're barely year 3.
Yeah.
You know?
So 3 years in, can you talk to us about what the valuation was?
Valuation was $360 million.
Jeez.
Now, not all us, right? There was a merge. So there was Pure Light that came in at $120 million.
Okay.
And then sold
full
you. And
enterprise value
Uh-huh.
of 360.
then,
Wild.
And then
You
another
went
sold.
from almost starving yourself to death with no income,
Yeah.
cutting that first check of $2,500
Yeah.
a year into it. You have you said 360? Is that
Yeah.
the
Total valuation.
total val of 360? How many years
Yeah.
in?
3
So 2 years after that first check,
Yeah.
wild what can occur if you're patient. And listen, that's a testament to this. I say this all the time, but you have to fall in love with the process.
Yeah.
You can't fall in love with the result. Because if we fell in love with the result, first of all, you wouldn't have had a $360 million val. There's just no way. You may have sold for 12. But the process, like you have to fall in love with it. And guess what? How many people would love to trade places with JD Beck and Dusty Wynn today? Tons of people.
Maybe a few.
No, tons of people. Because you look at but how many people would have wanted to trade places with you?
9 months
9
in.
months in, 10 months in.
Yeah. No one.
Like, no, thank you.
I know.
But it's, again, everybody wants to live that lavish lifestyle, but are you really, truly willing to do what it takes to get to that point?
Yeah.
Just think back all the sacrifices mentally, like physically, right? Monetarily, like family-wise that you had to go through to get to the point in which, you are now. And again, everybody wants the highlights, but they're not willing to go through the lowlights to get to those highlights of life. So props to you guys for just, enduring and falling in love with the process and doing what it takes to be very, very successful. I mean, what you guys have accomplished, that's one of one.
Yeah.
Like, this is an anomaly, and you guys are just abnormal. You guys are crazy to go through what you guys have gone through and what you guys are currently going through. And what's cool is you guys are still just beginning. So
I remember my brother runs a big hedge fund, and he's done a lot in that world. And I remember him telling me, he's like, dude, the fact that you guys are sitting at the table with these discussions this fast, he's like, you look at the stats of how many businesses fail.
Of course.
How many even last a few years.
90+%.
Let alone transact, and to do it in that time frame, And I don't think we realized, truthfully, when I look back, like, telling the story is so cool. Like, I get more hyped internally. Like, I get goosebumps when I tell it. But it's a wild story. And yeah, it's sometimes you forget, because we're so locked into what we're doing now, right? I forget, like, where we came from. But I will say this. We did a State of the Union for the company about a month and a half ago. And the entire thing was back to our roots. Like, that's our motto for this year. As we rolled out, like, kind of changed our mission statement, our core values, and back to the roots. Like, don't forget who we are and kind of the concept of where this company came from. And as you know, solar's been a pretty rough for the last year and a half for a lot of companies. So it's like, let's go back to what made us who we were. And we still have that, but you can't let it get lost. You cannot lose your identity as you grow, and it's hard, super hard.
How big are you guys now? How many employees?
Like employees?
Yeah. 1099, W-2.
Yeah, we're probably
combined.
ballpark 850.
Dang. How many?
850.
800, not 150, 850.
850.
That's crazy.
And growing.
And then how many locations?
Oh, man. I mean, we have 17 branches, so, we're in 9 or so states, 9 states. Like, it's opening more, too.
Yeah, what are your plans for expansion, whatever you can share?
Yeah, for sure. So we just opened up Virginia. We got a phenomenal team out there, so we're really excited about that. California is launching very quickly, which everybody's in, we know, but we're late to that state, but we're going into it. And North Carolina is next as well. So those are the ones that are.
And you guys do all your own installs? Mm-hmm. You don't.
We've had to use it because some of these teams are coming on so fast, which is not our business model to sub anything. We've had to leverage install partners for the first time, but we're backfilling with ops immediately. Because you bring on a new group, right?
Yeah, because you need immediate.
Immediate, like, hey, we got to keep them at home, so we can only blitz them.
But your strategy is you take over as soon as you can.
Like,
correct?
right away. Like, we may have to leverage install partner for a couple of months, few months.
And talk, because I believe in that. I believe in controlling the machine. I believe in being vertically integrated.
Yeah.
Talk to us about your philosophies of controlling not just the sales experience, but also the install experience. It's very difficult to do.
So hard.
Very, very hard. And there's very few leaders that can actually do it in the solar space. But why is that key to you guys?
Well, I think it's a couple of things. So number one is I don't want to be at the mercy of anybody else and their timelines, their quality. I want to control it. I want the good and the bad that goes with that. I also think it makes you a lot more valuable. I mean, the enterprise value of a company goes up significantly when you own from creating a lead to turning that system on is a big deal. And so we always have been in the mindset of ops first. Sales will come, but like we've got to nail the ops side. And so we've put a heavy emphasis on that from the get-go. And we know that if we can deliver a fantastic operational experience for our customer and for our sales rep, it makes them sticky. Like they don't have to worry about getting paid. That's not a thing here, right? Getting the jobs in, it's not a thing. It happens. It always happens. And so for us, it's been very much so. We have to execute at a high level on our systems and processes within the operational side to deliver the product to the sales guys. So I view the sales guys and the customers. Those are my two customers. And I need to make sure both are being served the right way. And when they are, it really helps them be sticky on both sides. And so that's always kind of been our MO.
Wow, that's beautiful. And then what's your role? Where do you sit in the C-suite?
So I'm the CEO of Pure Light.
What is Dusty?
Yeah. And Dusty's CRO.
And then you have Cam.
Yep,
what does Cam do?
COO.
And then Damon?
Damon is CSO over sales.
Chief Sales? Cool.
Chief Sales Officer.
Yeah, and then talk to us about those dynamics. Is it easy to flow with those guys? Do you guys butt heads every once in a while?
Yeah.
How does that work?
Yeah, I mean, I think anybody that's had partnerships knows there's different ways that you view things. There's times you get frustrated. There's times you got to work through it. I have a horrible tendency to hold grudges and get mad, which personal issue I've worked through. But there was one time I got mad at Dusty. I didn't talk to him for 5 days. Our office was next to each other. Super immature, right? But like things like that happen and you work through it. I will say now, our group has done a really good job of figuring out exactly communication styles. We've spent a lot of time taking those various tests, doing those things to really understand the way that others operate and think. And yes, we have disagreements. Yes, there's moments it gets heated, but they stay isolated. And that's the key. They don't bleed out. You have to have good, healthy conflict and then move on to what's next because we don't have time to dwell on that stuff, you know? So I would say our dynamic as a group is really good, which is hard. You know, getting along with one or two people is hard, but as you mix in 3, 4, 5, 6 now, as we've added in new guys, we've added in new presidents of sales, you know, and things like that, like it's tough. And people have different views and they want to run at different speeds and they see it differently. And so to be honest, having the therapy background and the way that I view issues has been immensely valuable. It's something that I never would have thought would have helped so much in the business side. But I believe we all have gifts, and I think one of mine is to put myself in the other person's shoes and stay unbelievably objective and really see from their side why and how things are working for them. And it's helped me a lot because I feel like my role requires that often.
Wow, that's beautiful. Very well said. Man, this gets me excited. I hope you guys are excited about what JD is doing and what everybody can accomplish in their professional lives. And now let's pivot from professional into a little bit more personal or family life, which is all intertwined. Like, I'm sure if I peel back the onion, the reason why JD does everything that he does is why?
For the family?
It's all family.
Kids, the wife, all of it.
It's all that. Because if that's not there, the why, it just isn't, it's not holy, right? Yeah. You're not going to go through all that suck if you're not doing it for a holier cause than just, dollars and cents. So how do you, and I know you're a big family guy, when I text you or call you, you often don't answer immediately because hey, I'm coaching my kids, or I'm at a football game, or I'm out hunting.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what you should do. So talk to us about the dad dynamics, the husband dynamics. Like how do you make this whole thing beautiful where you're able to be that super dad and super husband and not just Mr. CEO?
That is such a hard question. And the reason it is because the stress and the demands of the job there are times I've been pushed to what I thought was a breaking point. And then you still have to go be dad. And I remember after the merge, 6-7 months, there was just some crazy stuff going on. And I remember sitting in my office. So my office the one wall is glass, with my back against the glass, sitting down on the floor and having my hands on my knees and my head down and being like in tears, like eyes watered up. And if somebody would have walked in, I was in tears, like because of the stress and what was happening. And I was like, man, this is like how do I do this? Like, how do we keep going? And then being able to turn that off and go home and not just isolate and go straight to your room and shut the door, you know? And so it's required over the last couple of years a lot of work on that to be able to deliver on both. And man, this may be a quote you said, but it's not like there's a work-life balance. There's a harmony that needs to exist. And so I've had to put a lot of focus on that between my girls' gymnastics, my boys' baseball, me coaching football. Almost every weekend out of the year is tied up with something. There's only a handful that are open. And so I have not done well at times over the last couple of years. I would say there was a 6 to 8 month stretch in there that I was not executing at home at a high level. But I would say the last couple of months, I really had to double down on that and focus and compartmentalize at a much better level than I was. And so I think it's very important to find releases, like what allows you to keep going. And then I saw a graph, I don't know if it's true or not, but it showed the amount of time you spend with your kid up through age 12, kind of a bell curve, and that's where it peaks. And then it's almost through age 12, 13, you'll spend more time with them in that than you will for the rest of their life.
It's very true.
And I was like, and I see it with my 13-year-old already, right? It's like as the friends come into things more and hanging out with girls and everything.
I mean, I have a 24-year-old, so.
Yeah, you get it,
I have
right?
a 12 and a 24.
Right.
So that graph is very accurate.
Yeah. And it scared me. And I'm like, dude, I love my little dude so much and my little girl. Like, I just want to hang out with them. And that was a massive paradigm shift for me 3 or 4 months ago. Like, dude, level up in this. You know, you have a window. Don't let work take over, you know? And so I've been very conscious to find things they love, go do it with them. But it's hard.
Yeah. I mean, I appreciate that. And I mean, I can tell you're getting a little even sentimental there, but guys, it's real. Like, maybe for those of us that have kids, we have 18 springs, 18 summers, 18 legit Christmases with our kids before the rest of life takes over, you know, with their significant others, their friend groups, etc. So cherish those moments. I mean, when you bifurcate it, when you just really compartmentalize that, and you're like, I've got 4 summers left. Yeah, I got 5 summers left that are like truly there with my little guy.
They're with me,
yeah. Like, just really take advantage of those moments.
100%.
I say this all the time, but time is very limited.
I know.
Money and all these other things are very unlimited, but just time matters. The reason why we do the things that we do is to give us more quality time. Yeah. Like, we're not going to go to the grave worrying about our, possessions. We're going to go, with those memories and that time and the legacy that we're creating, which is essentially, this is the mark that I've made in the world. You don't make your mark with a Rolex or with a Gucci or Louis Vuitton. You make it with those moments, those times, those defining moments, if you will. Yeah. So really pay attention to that. I mean, you have a very successful business person, and that's what it's all about. That's what it's all about. Sure, we keep a scorecard. Yeah. We love winning, but at the end of the day, the reason why we do it is for our loved ones.
Yeah, I mean, last night,
keep the main thing the main thing.
I'll give you an example. Last night, so we have a ranch. I'm big into horses, hunting, cows, all that. And we were riding last night with my younger son, riding horses in the arena. And, first horse he ever got on, he fell off. And he, didn't want to do it for a bit. And it was, last night, it was dark. We're just in there with the lights on, just us riding. And he started running and getting more confident and speed and controlling the horse the right way. And we're starting to teach him how to rope and all that. And those are moments when he overcame a fear, did something really cool, and for him, dude, he felt like on top of the world. And I love, those are the kind of things that they want to do it, and you make time. I knew I got up at 3:30 this morning for this flight. We didn't get home till almost 10 because we were riding. But I'm like, man, I'll pack, I'll deal with it. But he was in his zone having a blast, And it's 6 months ago, I wouldn't even have gone probably. I'd have been just dude, I got to pack. I'd have stayed home. I was in that kind of dark spot for a bit. And so for me, the more you stack those on top, the easier and the better it gets, to keep it going. And you see that, dude, this is what if I'm not doing it for this, what's the point? Yeah. Right? Why?
Yeah. I love it. No, it's very interesting. So even, my wife and I, we have a rule or a standard, if you will, where if our kids are, and I might have shared this with you, But if our kids are chatting with us, you know, talking to us about how the day went, or how their date went, or something about their love life, or just anything they're, you know, in their personal arena, if you will.
Yeah.
It could be 2 a.m. It could be 3 a.m. It could be 4 a.m. We're not ever gonna say, "Hey, I'm really tired.
Yeah.
I want to go to bed." We just let them talk.
Love it.
Because again, I just don't know how many more of those moments I'll have.
Absolutely.
And I remember distinctly, you know, some moments where I'm like, I really can't even stay up. I can't even remember what the last sentence was that my kid told me. But I'm here. I'm present.
Yeah.
I'm going to stick through this. I know it's 4 o'clock in the morning, but there's very few of these, and I'm going to cherish this. And I want my son or daughter to know that I'm here for them, and I want them to know that if they want to tell me anything, they can. So
love it.
Anyway, that's just part of it. Okay, let's pivot with a few questions, and I love asking this, and especially for a guy that's all about psychology. But okay, here we go. So you're how old now, JD?
As of 3-4 days ago, 41.
Oh, happy birthday! And I did tell you happy birthday,
yeah,
41. So welcome. Well, you've already been on the 4th floor.
Yeah,
so
I'm there.
I have one more year on the 4th floor, and then I move up to the 5th floor. But in your 41 years of age, I'm sure you've lost a lot of things. I give you a box, and in that box is everything that JD Beck has lost. Let's keep it to this: physical things, not memories, not people.
Okay.
But in this box, when you get it, there's everything that you've lost over the last 41 years. Okay? What do you look for first?
Everything I've lost physically?
Yeah. Things.
Oh, I thought you meant like I had a 6-pack when I was young. Physically.
Could be the 6-pack. Could be a G.I. Joe. It could be a
physical things I've lost. That's an interesting
something
question.
Tangible. What?
Something that's an interesting question.
Yeah. And it's not a trick question. It's just a conversation.
Oh, man, I'll tell you something I lost that still haunts me. I got a really cool knife from my dad. That'd be like probably the first thing in there. And I was like cutting hay strings. I left it on the bale of hay and drove off, and it fell off just because it was sentimental. And I like, you go buy a new one and you can't.
Yeah.
That's
how long ago was this?
That was actually not that long ago. That was like a couple years ago.
Really?
Yeah. I've looked for that thing so many times.
Really?
Because he made me this really cool case. It was like hand engraved for my ranch. It's the J2 Ranch, and it said like J2 Ranch, and it had this little knife in there. And that one still bugs me. And then I lost my wedding ring, so I'd probably put that one in there.
Just once?
Yeah, no, now I don't even have one on because I lost it like a couple of days ago in the rubber ones. I just get the little like, but the one my wife made engraved and everything, I lost within 6 months. It's bad.
You're one of those guys.
Dude, I am that guy.
Yeah, knock on wood, I don't lose rings.
So the ring and the knife would be the two things I'd want in there for sure.
Well, cool. Okay, now let's go, not with the tangible, let's go with people.
Okay.
So in your 41 years of life, you've met a lot of people along the way.
Yeah.
Some people are gone, some people are, let's call it the heavens. So you enter this room, and in this room is everybody that JD Beck has ever met in his life. Everybody, from age newborn to 41.
Mm-hmm.
You enter this room, everybody's there, everybody's gathered. Who do you look for first?
Probably my grandpa. Yeah. I would say that would be the first one.
Let's do why. Why grandpa? What's his name?
Ron.
Ron? Is he still with us or no?
No. Probably because it's nostalgic. Like you see on those Instagram, the random like 90s nostalgia, and there's like the music going and stuff, and I see those things, and I for whatever reason have this deep like yearning or missing of that age, like childhood and early teenage. I just loved it. Like it was so good. And so when I see things that take me back, I just instantly get happy. And he takes me back there, of Christmases. I mean, this room's about the size of their little room that we'd have Christmases in, and we'd go visit them. And I just miss that little teeny farmhouse on that little ranch.
Isn't it crazy? We don't miss the big mansions. We don't miss the really nice cars. We miss the simple stuff. I'm the same way.
I know. Like, I would kill to have a Christmas with my uncles telling those funny stories they did and my grandpa in that teeny little room. Like, so much more than going to Vail and doing some big cool snowboard Christmas trip. Like,
yeah, my wife gets on me all the time. She's like, chill the hell out. We don't need to get these nice Airbnbs and all this square footage.
I know.
And it's so true, because the issue is you get a bigger footprint, and what happens to the kids? They're like on their wing of the freaking estate. You know, they're in their apartment. She's like, simple. Like, hey, let's minimize.
Your house is awesome, right? It's fantastic. It's so cool. And we just got done our house not long ago, and I like, not even joking, 2 days ago, I looked at my wife, I'm like, should we sell this? She was like, what? I'm like, it's awesome. It's so cool, but like, I don't care. There's certain things you really care about, right? And I think for some people, like cars, homes, vacations, like there's just certain things that, and there's not right or wrong in that, right? I just want to live at the ranch house, honestly, because that takes me back there, you know? I just out of nowhere brought it up. I'm like, it's awesome. I love it, but...
Yeah. No, what we've noticed, you know, our home, it's a bigger footprint. And, you know, when we had smaller homes, as we were, you know, having kids and, you know, as we were progressing with our careers, let's call it, we were together more because the living room is smaller.
Yeah.
The kitchen is smaller. The rooms are more together. And we actually missed that. We missed that design. And in fact, I just got back from a spring break trip, and instead of staying at a resort, I chose to stay at a house. Why? So that we would be in proximity.
Yeah.
You know, there's a lot of us now, and my kids, you know, they're older. So I would have had to have gotten like maybe 4 hotel rooms versus one house. And I wanted us to just be close and congregate. So anyway.
When we go to the ranch house, I've actually mimicked my grandparents' basement a little bit.
Really?
With the wood walls and everything and the way they did it. And it's that little living room. And every time we go in the morning, we make breakfast and we just sit and chat for an hour and a half.
Yeah.
Nothing else. No phones, nothing. You just sit and chat in a little room.
Yeah.
So just hang out.
I was talking to, that's super cool. I was talking to Shamila, I think it was yesterday. I'm like, you know, I think I want to look at something in the Dominican. And I've always been the guy that I prefer renting over owning multiple properties for all the, you know, expense reasons. Like buying, it's easy. It's maintaining it and having to deal with the upkeep. That's more of a chore, if you will. But I said, I really want to look at maybe getting something in the Dominican Republic. And she's like, exactly. No, she's like, why? What are you talking about? Because, you know, I'm from Puerto Rico. She's from Argentina. She's like, no, if I'm going to be anywhere, it's going to be either Puerto Rico where you're from or Argentina. And then I had to remind her, you know, I grew up in the Dominican Republic. I don't know if you knew this.
Yeah.
But I lived there from age 5 to 10.
Okay.
And those years were very beautiful years for me and my family, like very nostalgic. So as soon as I said, hey, it's my upbringing, I have a lot of nostalgia for that island, she's like, oh, I got you. It's more so than, you know.
The nostalgia pulls you back.
It's crazy.
Man. There's something
and the
about
older
it.
we get, I think the more we're drawn to it.
I find that with myself all the time. Like I agree so much with that.
Yeah.
And I think we need to create that for our kids too, right? Like what are their nostalgic memories? What will they look back on in 20 years when it's like, hey, how was growing up in Oregon? And they're like, it was awesome. We got to drive 4-wheelers, go hunting. We got to go to Ducks games, like the football games. Like I want those memories, you know?
It's so funny because when you don't have those certain things, you know what I mean? Like the big house, the cars, whatever, you like crave it. But then when you're there, it's kind of like your reaction. The house is cool, but I prefer, now that I've kind of had both, if you will, what do you prefer? You prefer the simplicity. You prefer those defining moments, the proximity of the family, all that stuff. Anyway.
Yeah.
I know
Peace.
Yeah. Okay, so why don't we end with this? So a lot of entrepreneurs tune in. They're either listening to us or they're watching us. Final words of advice for the entrepreneurs out there. Let's start with this. Before you give the advice, what's your definition of an entrepreneur?
Somebody that's willing to risk it all.
Beautiful.
Right? That's it, man. You're willing to risk it. You have no floor. That's an entrepreneur. You have no safety blanket.
Love it. Okay, so best words of advice from a very successful entrepreneur. And this is what's cool about an entrepreneur's the game is never done.
No.
Like people ask you, when are you going to retire? There is no retirement. Yeah. Like you can't turn it off. It's a game.
What's next? Like,
yeah,
let's
what's
go try
next?
something.
Yeah. So best send off, best words of advice for the entrepreneurs that are out there.
I think the cream always rises. There's always room. And in my opinion, at least, it's just the absolute no fear of loss mentality. Like, I know I can do it. I'm willing to do it. Doesn't mean you don't need you need the right team. It's so hard to do alone. But it would be find the industry that you like. The cream can rise to the top. And honestly, a lot of successful people aren't crazy smart. They just went and did it. The difference is they showed up and did it. And I know I love the trades. Like, I love them. And there's so many people there. The only reason they did so well is because they were just willing to take the risk. They had no fear of loss. And it's like, well, if it doesn't work, I'll go do this. And so for me, that would be it, is find the
When you
avenue.
say the trades, what do you mean?
Oh, electrician, roofing, plumbing, just, the manual trades.
Which, by the way, there's a big, massive gap in our need for those trades people
I know.
For what's currently available in the market. So if you're thinking about getting into the trades,
I love it. And with AI coming and the way the game's going to change, like, the trades are so high demand. And there's so many opportunities there. And again, people that just went for it. You know, I mean,
and let me ask you this: the moments you had at Vivint, those 4 years of grind, how well equipped, how well did that prepare you for that no fear of loss mentality? Because you said something when you called your parents and said, "Hey, I might need to live in the basement," but you also knew worst case scenario you could go do what?
I know I could go make a couple $100,000, no problem.
I know I can go make $200,000, no problem. I'm going to take the risk, but my best alternative to negotiated agreement is, worst case, I can go create $200,000 worth of revenue for of income for my family. So my risk level, because of my skill set and the grind that I put in, like I'm protected. So I guess
how did it prepare me?
Yeah, how did it prepare you, and how did it give you the confidence to launch Pure Light?
So I would say it prepared me, number one, by being able to talk to anybody and know I could make money. In a worst case scenario, if everything fell apart, you go sell something. So I knew that existed always. And number two, I think the part that I didn't anticipate was I'm in boardrooms. I'm in presentations and doing decks with all the suits and all the degrees and everything, right? Like, I literally show up and I present and do that stuff all the time. And I have absolutely zero fear of talking to anybody. None. Like, right now, if you said, hey, there's 6,000 people on the other side of that door, you got to go rip for 30 minutes. I'm like, cool, let's go. Like, it just, that ability to be able to talk, be persuasive, preemptively overcome things, frame the right way, that is beyond valuable in any scenario, not just sales, but everything is sales. Everything, right? So negotiating our deal, if the next deal we do, negotiating that, dealing with the private equity guys, the investment bankers, like, half of them don't even know how to talk. You know, half are awesome, but like, being able to really command the room, demand the respect, and articulate very precisely what message you want is a big deal. And I don't think there's anything better than selling accounts and doing that thousands of reps, like, truthfully. And so you take that skill set in conjunction with the normal knowledge you can get via reading, via studying, and you combine those, you become pretty deadly. And then if you have no fear of loss, like, good luck stopping that person.
So with that, we'll end. That's a show. Live Life by Design, JD Beck. Thanks for being here.
Thank you, sir.
Much love to my brother.